Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Educator Experience podcast. My name is Sally Carter, and this is the space where I sit down with fellow educators from across Canada, as well as the world, who share their journeys into teaching and impactful moments throughout. This episode is actually our last new episode of 2025. We've been sharing new educator stories weekly for the past 6 months now, and we are winding down with my friend and colleague, Sylvia Fraser. Why are we winding down at the end of November and not the end of December? Well, it's because we have some really exciting things happening behind the scenes. We've got some e-courses with AI fundamentals for educators in the works, some downloadable products, including a reflective journal for educators that tracks growth over a semester, which is really cool. We also have some really bright, gorgeous, colorful mugs from a local Indigenous designer here in Kamloops. And we're also pre-recording for multiple seasons at a time for the new year for this podcast as well. So, as some folks are really winding down, we're actually gearing up for an exciting 2026. Before we get into Sylvia's episode, I'd like to extend a huge thank you to all of our supporters and listeners from around the world. It's so neat to read the data reports and know that we have listeners in South America, Australia, India, Asia, the UK, Europe, and of course, our friends in the United States as well. And the biggest of thank yous to a very special person who makes this entire operation possible. And her name is Madison Thurgood. I met Maddie at Queen's University where we were taking a graduate program together. And I'm forever grateful for her support, her ideas, her drive, and her commitment to this podcast as well as the business. You know that feeling when you meet a person that makes work fun and you have a blast and they challenge you? Well, that's her and I working together. It's awesome. I love it. Every work day is an exciting, fabulous day. And just as a side note, Maddie happens to be Canada's top women's fencer. Please check her out and support her Substack and her socials where she shares her athletic journey. Now for today's episode. Sylvia Fraser is an alumna of Northern Lights College and became a faculty member in 2006 as a vocational instructor in the Applied Business Technology program. She's the program lead for that program and the chair of the Education Council there as well. Now, I happen to know Sylvia because she is my boss. I know chairs aren't technically our bosses, but I love to say that. And I have worked for her department for the past couple of years now, and it has been such a pleasure getting to know her. And that's actually one of the coolest things about this podcast for me personally is when I sit down with people I already know in a work capacity and have the chance to really get to know them outside of that frame or traditional work setting, which is fabulous. Our conversation today touches on a few different topics from the overlooked value in vocational programs, the importance of connecting with our students, and various ways on how we do that. And we even touch on the very vulnerable topic of imposter syndrome. So thank you to Sylvia for sharing her journey. And thank you again to everyone for your ongoing support. Now let's get to it.
Being an educator is one heck of a lonely journey, but every step holds a story, an experience that shapes how we teach, learn, and grow. Welcome to the Educator Experience. I'm your host, Sally Carter, and together we'll explore the moments that define us as educators. Through authentic conversations and shared experiences, we're building a community that connects, reflects, and inspires, all while breaking down barriers in education, one story at a time. You are not alone. Let's grow together. Sylvia, welcome. I'm so excited to be sitting down with you. Are you open to sharing a little bit of how you got into teaching and what that journey looked like for you?
Yeah, it's not a conventional path in any way, shape, or form. I think one of the things that does make me a little bit unique at my institution, I started eons and eons ago, working in different companies and just like getting that business sense. I did a lot of behind the scenes work in retail. I worked retail on the floor and the sales and the customer service, but I also did like buying and working directly with like the Kenneth Coles and the Hugo Boss departments and things like that. I knew I was going to be leaving for a summer to go travel in Europe. And that first thought was, I can't leave unless somebody can do my job for me. So I started training people behind the scenes without the employers necessarily knowing I was doing it.
Oh, this is
But
so cool.
yeah, I was a little sneaky about it. So then when the time came when I did actually give them the proper notice and everything, and I did ask them if I could take a leave of absence so I could go and travel around Europe, their first reaction was, "Well, we how do we do this? Like, you do your job." And I'm like, "Oh, but you know what? I got it. I have Susie, I have Joe, I have whoever, and I've been working with them for months and I've been training them to do this." They were just like, "What? Really?" And it was perfect. I went, I traveled, I came back. Other people in the business that I worked with were like, "That was kind of crazy. Like, weren't you scared that they were going to fire you?" Because there's like this protection in the
Yeah.
workplace that happens when if I'm the only one that knows how to do my job, then I have job security. And I never saw it that way. I was like, no, like we need to share our knowledge. It's all integrated if you share. So then it just kind of went from there. And we went through like the life story of you meet the boy, you fall in love, you get married, you have the babies, that sort of a thing. The boy just happened to be rural, not from the city like me. And so that shifted my career path greatly. It had a huge impact on it. And that's where I am today in Fort St. John. It's in Northeast BC and it's beautiful, but I wasn't able to continue and with my
Mm.
job. So it was like, okay, now what do I do? I ended up enrolling in the Applied Business Technology program at Northern Lights College.
What?
Yeah.
I did not know any of this about you. I'm so excited. Okay, keep going.
Everything clicked. And it was like, it just reaffirmed everything that I already knew. The instructor at that point in time was at that time labeled the senior instructor. He was actually on her way to retirement. And throughout the entire year, she was like, "Oh my God, like you need to have my job. Like this is what you've been meant to do." And I was like, "No, I can't do that." And long story short, I actually did apply. I was not the successful candidate, and somebody won the interview over me with it was a scoring points, and they got 1 point more than me. And
What? Oh
they
my
were
God, what happened next? Okay, what happened
they're
next?
so they're like, "Oh, it came down to the scores, and she just answered one question a little bit better than you, got 1
Ah,
extra point," and I was so devastated. But I said, "You know, whatever. It's a great institution. Oh, I'm so interested. If it doesn't work out, please call me." And it turned out that she actually ended up not actually really wanting the job, and so within 4
yay.
days, they called me back and said, "Hey, that person turned it down actually, so if you still want it, it's there for you." And I was like, "Absolutely, 100%, I'm in." I had no idea the level of what I was getting into because I had no teaching background or anything like that. I just had work experience in the real world. I always say to everyone, I graduated with a degree from the School of Hard Knocks, right?
Oh, 100%. Yes.
Yeah. But
Yes.
I had an amazing coworker, Margaret Henning, and she helped me so much.
I had no idea that this was your journey. This is so exciting. So how long ago was it that you were hired with Northern Lights College then? How long has it been?
August 10th, 2006.
You next year's 20 years?
Yep. So, yeah, this is my 20th fall, and next year it will officially be the 20-year anniversary.
That's incredible, and all in ABT, yeah?
Yes. I did
Probably
work
that's why you're so knowledgeable. Yeah.
I started off not as a full-time position, so I was able to work, I did a bit for CCP. There was a couple times where it's course content specific to ABT topics like Excel, Word, PowerPoint, where I could cross teach. Because in ABT, we focus on the work office, the work
Yeah.
environment for an office, whether it be a lawyer's, doctor's, whatever. Like, this is what you do. So in the wind turbine, I had to research and I'm like, well, how would one use Excel in a wind turbine job, right? And there was a couple times where it's course content specific to ABT topics like Excel, Word, PowerPoint, where I could cross teach. We did a bit with our wind turbine program as well. And same thing, it was focused purely on like Excel, Word, Outlook, PowerPoint. And they were great because it's still ABT with regards to how the software works, but I got to
Mhm.
explore how it would be applied in different areas. Because in ABT, we focus on the work office, the work
Yeah.
environment for an office, whether it be a lawyer's, doctor's, whatever, like this is what you do. So in the wind turbine, I had to research and I'm like, well, how would one use Excel in a wind turbine job, right? And so I can't remember, it was a long time ago, but I had to figure out formulas to calculate wind speeds versus blade speed versus what impact it would have on birds. Like it was a whole new world and a way of how to apply it. So I got exposed to a lot that way and built relationships within the college that way as well. And in CCP, we have a lot of similar content. We just do it at a different level than them. So we did have that collaboration for a couple of years where we would swap back and forth a little bit. And that was a lot of fun because then you just get exposed to new people, new experiences, and it builds teamwork within the college. But it's always ABT has always been there. I've never not been teaching in ABT.
That's
It's my third child.
I think the cool thing about working in your department is that you and the other instructors have been there literally for 20 years each. And I'm this new person, and I remember being part of some team meetings, and I'm like, "I don't get it. I don't get it." I'm just gonna smile and nod and see how it goes and just blame it on being a first year in your department permanently. And then I remember second year, I was like, "Okay, now I feel I can contribute a little bit," but I'm continuously learning from your experience. Our ABT program at Northern Lights College is so fortunate to have the level of experience, the level of commitment, and that level of knowledge. And one of the things that I appreciate about the NLC ABT program is that while others are shutting down due to lack of enrollment, yours is thriving. Why do you think that is?
We have ABT and NLC in the Northeast area a really good reputation. For the
Mhm.
most part, the employers in our area are familiar with ABT. They're familiar with the grads that we have. Some of them even go as far as to they will put it on their criteria when they do a job posting. When they're looking at resumes across their desk, they will recognize ABT, and that helps to make our graduates stand out, get the interviews, get the jobs. And then
Yeah.
when they're in the workplace, they're representing the program and they talk about ABT. And I just think that that has a lot to do with our success.
And in such a time of turbulent post-secondary education where a lot of departments, resources, funding are getting shut down, yours is thriving. And I love it. And I love being part of it. So, what is something that has really stood out for you in terms of your teaching career?
Being authentic, I think, is really important as an instructor because, as I said before, my journey was very different. What I didn't include when I was talking about my journey was my education and my education background. I actually went to Grant MacEwan University now, it was a college back then, and I was taking criminology. And I had a whole other career path mapped out for myself. So I do have education, I just don't have a teaching background in education.
Mhm.
I've continued since I've been in the college and I've taken programs and I've got diplomas and things like that, the provincial instructor diploma, all that sort of a thing, to obviously educate myself on better ways to work in the classroom and teach. But that's the beautiful thing about being vocational is that I have professional designation for a long time. I didn't really embrace that. I still, to this day, have, like, a bit of imposter syndrome around that. When
Yeah.
you're surrounded by all these brilliant minds and amazing coworkers, and some of them are like, "Oh, I'm working on my 3rd PhD," and I'm like, "Okay."
You're like, "Don't worry about me. Just trying to make it to Tuesday."
Yeah, exactly. But I always knew and I never doubted I have something to bring to the table. When you're sitting around and talking with colleagues and we'll talk about different strategies and someone will look at you and go, you do that? That's interesting. Even something as simple as eating lunch with students. Some people were like, oh, you eat lunch with your students? And I was like, oh, that's wrong. And so I stopped. And then I was like, no, this doesn't feel right. Like I have to be who I am. I need to get to know them. I want to build relationships. So, because how am I going to be able to teach better or learn about different things that, oh, you don't get it this when I do it this way, but you get it when I do it that way. They don't necessarily openly talk about that in the classroom. And so for a while there was a couple groups of students where we literally would take the entire class and we would take a giant table in the cafeteria and we would all eat lunch together. And those
Yeah.
are fantastic, and I learned so much from that, but there were people that were like, "Yeah, okay, so we eat lunch with your students again." But I had to. That's who I am. I couldn't not be that person, and I had to be authentic to who I am and how I teach.
What do you think the impact was on you building those relationships with your students? What do you think the impact was of you sitting in the cafeteria and laughing and sharing stories with your students?
Oh, it builds a huge foundation, not just like for them within the cohort and being able to start study groups and things, but it builds a relationship, a rapport. I'm approachable. Come talk to me. I'm human. I learned so much, like I said, about different learning styles, and it's impacted how I teach today. It doesn't happen as much anymore, unfortunately. I found that since COVID, there's definitely been some shifts in society and overall of how we function and what we do, and I miss it. I do miss it very much. But,
Good.
I understand and I respect people's space, and if they don't want to do that, that's okay. They don't feel comfortable with that. But it did impact how I approach people, how I view people. The students in the classroom, like, they're all there for different reasons, and I mean, I've always known that, but when you get to know behind the scenes, the stories, maybe someone consistently doesn't have their homework or they're consistently late every day. In the classroom, if I just stuck to that room, those four walls, I wouldn't have necessarily understood why or how that was happening without sitting at that table with them. So then it's like you hear the story, oh, they're the parent, they're the single parent, they had a child that was up all night with the flu for the last 3 weeks or 2 that was an exaggeration. That's a long time.
Hopefully not 3 weeks. Oh my god. Poor
But you
kid.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like, "Oh, that makes sense," right? Or
Yeah.
someone that was always coming to school on time, but then all of a sudden they were late. And then at that lunch table, you find out the car broke down. And so now they're relying on the bus. And it's like, oh, well, why didn't you say something? Well, no, I didn't want to bother anyone or anything.
Mhm.
Right. And so then you have those organic conversations and it brings a better understanding as to where the student is at and how you can meet them and how you can improve. Right.
It's really incredible, and especially with your type or our type of program. So, we are with students for more than just 1 semester. We're building relationships. Yours is 10 months long, my program is a little bit longer, and we are these students' main thing of support. We are their everything, their lifeline for a lot of the program, even if they may see other instructors come here and there. So to have that rapport building, that relationship, that level of safety for them, it really goes to, is it Bloom's taxonomy?
I don't
Bloom's?
know.
Or safety, it's the pyramid thing.
I know. I did write a paper on that at one point.
Right? I'm
I
like, "Oh my god," it's just, like,
can't.
pulling it out of nowhere right now. It's the idea of that safety, right? Students need to feel safe, they need to feel secure in order to get to that next level of
Yeah,
learning, and we deal with students from so many diverse backgrounds up north. So there are mature students who maybe haven't been to school in 20, 30 years and are coming in to get skills to work in their indigenous communities and their bands. We have students who are still trying to figure things out after high school. We've got moms, we've got like everything in
yeah,
between. I don't think it's the traditional type of classroom.
yeah.
There is such a wonderful mix of people.
and a lot of nerves coming back to school, right? Yeah, I really agree and wholeheartedly with your strategy to really focus on breaking down those barriers and connections, and especially for people who are returning to school. So, our age, I don't recall anyone ever sitting with any of their instructors and really focusing on that and understanding the value and creating that connection early on and what it means to students, especially for folks who have a very different idea of school. They're freaked out and they're still working on creating those connections. It's so important. Sylvia, you actually bring up a word that or a term that I really resonate with, and that's imposter syndrome. How do you think that shows up, or how have you worked through that throughout the years for yourself to still remain authentic in your teaching?
I figured out really quickly when I was trying out someone else's model, someone else's way of doing things, I just felt like an imposter even more so. I didn't feel comfortable at all in my skin when I was doing it. It just felt wrong in my gut. I feel imposter syndrome all the time, but if I'm doing it on my terms within what my thought process and my values and what aligns with me, I can work through it. It's almost like you come to a full stop mentally, physically, if I'm trying to be an imposter and mimic someone else's style in the classroom. And then I really, truly, I can't function.
It's
Yeah.
such a personal feeling. I talk
Yeah.
about it in my classes. I talk about how even though I'm higher because I'm the expert, I value everyone's opinions,
Yes.
everyone's experiences in this classroom. And I hope y'all are smarter than me. I don't want to be the smartest person. I may have a particular level of experience, but I'm here to open the floor for everyone to connect, share, and grow together, and for me to sit back and for me to watch. And there are rooms that I hope I am the least experienced person in there. And I'm like, okay, I'm the imposter in this room, but I am here for it. I am taking it all in. I'm just kind of thinking about it as we speak. Perhaps it drives me in a way
Yeah.
that I continuously maybe feel a little bit like I don't belong in certain places, but that I'm always striving to.
Yep.
I know we should technically feel like we each belong, but maybe it's because I don't ever feel like that, that I'm continuously striving to grow and improve myself.
Absolutely. There's something about being in the comfort zone for
Yeah.
sure. Like there's that, oh, it's safe. Like we're talking about that safety.
Yes.
And
Yes.
our students are coming in on that first day and you're as the instructor like it's going to be fine. We're strangers today, but in 10 months we'll be really good friends and family.
Yeah.
And you just have
Yeah.
to trust me blindly on that. And they are like, yeah, this person's crazy. When I'm in the same situation, I need I like my comfort zone. It's like, "Ooh, this is nice, this is safe." And then challenges come, and when I say challenge, I don't mean in a negative way. I mean challenge is in an opportunity, right?
Mhm.
So one that happened to me was education council when I was on education council, and then people were like, "Oh, maybe we'll elect you to be chair. Like, how do you feel about that?" And at first, I was like, "Ooh, me? No." And then it happened and again, imposter syndrome and I'm like, "Oh dear, what did I do? What did I get myself into?" But it was a good challenge and I learned a lot from it. Like you said, I know that I have so much to learn. I don't know a lot of stuff when it came to that role, what to expect. And then when I was in it, and I was going through it and I was making notes of like, okay, I have to do this, I have to do this. Like there was a lot that came with the role that I didn't understand. I went in a little bit blindly, a little naive a bit. And that's okay though, because now I'm going into my second term and I feel so much more confident, right?
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, I have that learning year under my belt and now I feel confident. I still feel imposter syndrome with it because there's so much I don't know. And it is a group of peers that they have so much to bring, and that I'm not the smartest person in the room in any way, shape, or form, but I'm learning so much from it and I'm enjoying it. Right.
Mhm.
And I just kind of conquer that fear, that challenge. That it sounds a little corny, but like Steve Jobs had that whole speech, and I usually play it for my students at the beginning of the year. But there's that line in
Check
it
it
where
out.
he says, "When you, it's not until you look back and you connect the dots that everything kind of happened." I'm paraphrasing now, but everything happened in life and it all makes sense. There are those moments where, oh, I'm feel the butterflies and I'm like, I'm not worthy. I shouldn't do this. I shouldn't be here, or I shouldn't speak up. My opinion isn't worth as much as someone else's. I'm just like, no, like I have a right to be here. I have something to say. Yeah, I look back. I'm like, okay, I conquered that one. I conquered this one, and now here I am, and I still have it all the time.
It's almost like working with imposter syndrome, not like squashing it. I was having a conversation with a colleague the other day, and he is so academic and speaks in such a different way than me. I was just absolutely felt not worthy in that moment. And I'm like, what am I doing, Sally Carter? We have so many things to offer our students. And in the vocational realm in particular, I think you and I are well suited because we don't speak PhD academics. And that's not what our students are there for.
No.
They're there to learn practical, real life, real administrative office skills. And we got
And I
that.
was gonna say that too, like, it that is also a big part of who is our audience, who are we delivering that message to? It's a vocational program, so we are engaging with them where we need to engage with them, and if I came
Mhm.
in and I talked only in 10-syllable words, it would maybe throw some people, and I might just be like, "Yeah, this isn't for me." Over the years, I've worked with many people, and there's one person in particular, he again, very academic, wonderful, but we got along because we were so different.
Mm. I
and I embraced what he brought to the table. He embraced what I brought to the table, and I think he was one of the first people that really truly kind of like welcomed me into that academia at NLC with, yeah, she's a little quirky, she's a little different, but she's good. Like she's one of us. Like I'll never forget. I won't go into the context, but we were in a meeting and we are talking about something, and it wasn't necessarily school education structured. It was more of like a campus life, and again, very different perspectives of like what would be fun on campus. And I brought up my suggestion, and he just looked at me and kind of touched my hand and went, "You are the yin to my yang." And I was like,
Oh,
"That's okay. Like we're different. We have different perspectives. I'm school of hard knocks. You're 3 PhDs in, but we're all there to be to better the life of campus, the students, enrich our
yeah.
communities. We bring balance. I bring balance. I feel."
100%. I love it. I feel like I have one foot in each of these worlds, which is really fascinating. It was explained to me by Bruce Martin. He is a mentor of mine at Thompson Rivers University. And he explained it that the PhD level is to question why constantly. And whereas in vocational, I feel like it's like the how. Let's look at the how to better things, how to do things efficiently, effectively. And PhD is like, why does this happen? And it's just a constant of whys and researching of why. And to collectively, they come together amazingly, but they're two completely different mindsets, right?
Yeah.
And so it's a neat experience for me to have, as I said, like a foot in each. I have some third-year classes at Thompson Rivers University, and we're looking at the why and reflecting on our own behavior
in certain situations in order to learn and grow. And whereas in ABT, we're like, how do we do this to the most efficient way possible in our environment? So, Sylvia, as we start to wind down our conversation, what is one piece, if you want to give more, I will not say no because you have 20 years experience. You've got a lot to say and to share, but what's one piece of advice you would give to new educators out there?
One of the biggest takeaways is that what we do matters if someone comes into post secondary, whatever that looks like for that student, whether it's upgrading, taking a vocational like ABT, trades, going on doing a master's, PhDs. As instructors, we all have a role to play in that, and we have an impact on those people's lives. We may not see it in the moment. You
Mhm.
may have that day where you've planned out the perfect lesson plan, it executed perfectly, and then but that you didn't get the reaction that you thought you would get from the students, and you go home thinking you're a failure, right? But at the end of the year, once they've graduated, they've gone out into the work world, they got the job, and you're running into them in the grocery store, or you just happen to be at the mall, at the bookstore or something, and they run into you and they're like, oh, and I get this all the time. And again, bonus of being in a smaller community, you
Yeah.
do get to have those run-ins and keep those connections with people. And they'll be like, oh, remember when you would make us do this in class, and I hated it, but you know what? Thank you. Thank you,
Uh-huh.
because I'm working for company ABC, and guess what I have to do every day? Or you run into them and how's it going? And they're so excited. They're like, I got the best job ever. I'm working for company 123 and I'm making $1 million a year. And I just got, it's that student whose car broke down that they were late for class because they were taking the bus. Well, guess what? They just bought a brand new car. A lot of times in ABT, we do get single moms, and those are the ones that impact me the most. I know, right? And when you see the struggles that they go through throughout the year, whether it is staying up all night with a sick child and then coming into class the next day, and then they get that job and they come to you and they're like, "Thank you. I've got the job. I'm supporting my child. I've got the car. We have the best life ever, and it's all because of you and your program." And I'm like, "It's not me." And I always believe that. It's not me. I just brought the material forward. You absorbed, you chose to learn, you chose to take away. When you walk away from that conversation, there's that moment of like, "Ah, yes, like I make a difference, and what we do matters, and it's positive." And it doesn't necessarily always end with ABT either. I know so many students that have graduated with me that have gone on to do either the executive assistant diploma and get a business degree, where they're like, I would never necessarily have gone down that path because technically we don't require a high school diploma for ABT. So
Mm.
it's one of the few programs that you can actually ladder into and get a degree without having a diploma or a high school diploma. So that's pretty
A big
cool.
deal.
But also, they'll go an entirely different direction. And it's like, oh, you run into them and they're like, yeah, I'm graduating the practical nursing program. And I'm like, wow, okay, like, congratulations. And then they'll say something like, but I wouldn't have been able to do that without the foundation that ABC gave me. Because in practical nursing, there's an expectation, write this paper for us and submit it, but they don't teach you how to use Word to write the paper. But because they
Mhm.
had that foundation with ABT, they were able to not have to learn how to use a software to complete the assignment. They could just focus on the assignment and be successful. Their
Yeah.
success is our success. And that's what I always tell students. We always do an assignment at the beginning of the year, like, what is going to be success for you? And I always tell them there's no right or wrong answer. Some students' success is we have a minimum requirement of 70%. If you get 70% and you pass everything, that's success. Whereas another student may be like, oh, I need at least a 95 to feel like I'm successful. And they'll always throw it back at me because that's the conversation we have. And they'll say, how do you view success? And I will always tell them my success is your success. At the end of the day, you graduate, you get the job, you're happy. That's all that matters. And whether it means you stay in a work environment like an office or a business, doing your own company. I've had a number of students do that as well. Or you continue down a different path. We've inspired you, we've helped you along the way, we've given you a foundation. Like, yeah, what we do matters. And it doesn't matter if it's ABT or if you're teaching in business management or nursing. As an instructor, you have an impact, and it's a positive impact on students' lives.
I love that. Thank you so much. What a beautiful way to wind things down. Everything we do matters.
Yeah.
Sylvia, thank you so much for your time. Sending you so much love. And I can't believe all the cool stuff that I got to learn about you today. This is awesome. I feel closer, connected, and thank you so much for taking the time from your day.
Well, thank you for inviting me. It was so much fun.
Thank you for joining us on today's episode of the Educator Experience. We hope you're walking away feeling connected, inspired, and just a little bit more supported on your journey. Ready to go a little bit deeper? Join the Educator Experiences community and check out our courses and workshops specifically designed to support new educators as they navigate the ups, downs, and everything in between. You'll find it all at educatorexperiences.com. If today's conversation resonated with you, share it with a fellow educator, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Together, we're building a vibrant community rooted in support and connection. See y'all next Monday.